It is a very beautiful Tuesday morning, and like we said this morning, we are choosing to be deliberate about what we do, what we say. Who we talk to is also extremely important when we are making our choices in life. And sometimes it's important to choose the people who give you a little extra bit of inspiration. Those are the kind of people you want to keep around you. And some of these people actually don't even realize the impact of their inspiration on our lives. Today, I am talking to someone who I think at this point probably just thinks, I'm a gospel musician. But he actually has changed a lot of lives in the time that he has been in the industry, inspired a lot more people than he will ever understand, both within the gospel fraternity and outside of it. Helped shaped a lot of the voices that we hear today, but in his own right as well has been an outstanding, phenomenal musician. I am speaking this morning to Everton Mlalazi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, viewers.
Tell me something. Did you always growing up know that, look, I want to be a musician, or I want to be specifically a gospel musician, this is what I want to do?
So obviously growing up, I grew up in a Christian family, and we would go to church. I'm Seventh Day, so we would go to church every Sabbath. But every morning, every evening, we would have devotions at home. And my dad would obviously lead out in worship and singing, and then also just opening the word. I found singing very interesting. So at a very young age, I used to go and sit in the front pews in church just to hear these people sing in choir, and I really loved it. To a point where I think I actually started wanting to join a choir at a very young age. However, the culture in my church has never been that of exposing and really going out. And because of that, I was really okay singing in church and leading worship in church. You know, I sang with a number of music groups. It was okay because we just would sing in church. But I can tell you that my story has been very interesting because it took COVID for me to go solo and be a solo artist.
And be a solo artist. That's actually very interesting, and I want to get to that. But before that, I just want to find out if you remember what it was about those voices that would draw you so much, about listening to these choirs that constantly got your attention, to the point where, for young people sitting kumberi, we don't want to sit in front. We want to be in the back with all the other ones. But you were so drawn to some of these voices that you would find yourself in front. What was it about them?
It was the melody. It was the melody. In my church, they do very beautiful harmonies. So I really wanted to hear, and I always would say during the week, I can't wait to go to the next service, because when I go there, I mean, surely I think there's going to be a new song, and but also more importantly, I can tell you that I started being a very serious person, like at a very young age.
Right.
So the depth in the message, those type of songs, it's really would. So, you know, I think the younger me was more of a Christian than I am now.
Really?
Yes, because the younger me, if I did something wrong, if I went into a little corner and stole a little bit of sugar from home, and then I find out that I've done something wrong, I would actually shed tears. You know, what have I done? I don't think that happens now. Of course, I do regret what I've done, but I would really shed tears. Like, what have I done?
I don't think it's that you've become less. I think you just handle things differently now.
Maybe.
I think you just handle, because you still have that remorse, but it's not the tears. So as you went through and you found yourself as part of the different groups that you've gone through in your timeline, what was your greatest lesson in working with all these people that you've worked with? Maybe just take us through that timeline and some of the lessons at these points.
Yeah, so and then I then went to I think the whole journey about serious music started when I went to varsity, and I joined a group there that was called Remnant Rain, and then I led that group. And then we had another one called One Accord. So all these are people who are young people at varsity, spending a bit of their time. You know, at varsity there's so many things that could happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, right?
Yeah.
But then, you know, these people take their time off all of that to come and rehearse and want this vigor for God, right? Then after that, growing up, I've always listened to Joy Celebration. I've always listened to Bishop Benjamin Dube. And obviously Marvin Sapp, all these other artists, you know, from abroad, but also our own local artists, especially Prince, Mafukidze. And I then in 2014 started a movement in the Adventist Church by starting a music group that had accompaniment or instruments. In our church, always used to sing a cappella.
A cappella, yes.
So I started a group called The Vine, and yeah, it took us 4 years to actually record our first album, which was in 2018, Sunday Food. It did quite well, I think. 2020 was when we were supposed to record the second album, then COVID hit. So now I was at home, and that's when ideas to try and do something on my own started, because there was lots of time.
Right.
But then I couldn't meet my friends to rehearse. So I started working virtually with my producer, Nigel, Damo, my wife, to work on music. And since then, I've not stopped. And people I've worked with, you might know already, Minister Michael Mahendere locally, very powerful man of God. We did a song called Fugama Onamate, very humble. I worked with Oli Mkwango, former Joy Celebration, and she's doing extremely well for herself now in South Africa and even globally, I think. We worked on a song called My Father's House.
Right.
And then the big one, I think, was when I worked with Bishop Benjamin Dube on Mariam Shanduki.
I was waiting for you to get to that point, because from listening to him to working with him, what was that moment like?
Well, it was beautiful. It was fulfilling, if I might say. Growing up listening to him, and then now I actually have to share, you know, music with him, and him listening to me, sharing energies with me, saying, "I love that. Repeat that, or let's do that."
Right.
It was really that. I think it was a wow moment for me. And then, you know, The Vine, we worked with Soweto Gospel Choir on the Great Physician album.
Yes.
And we had quite a massive launch last year.
How did that come about? Because those are two collectively large groups. I mean, in terms of coordinating, putting everything together, how did that come about?
I mean, look, by the grace of God, all things happen, I think. But the most important thing I would say is that I, for one, have never believed that I could meet people with so many Grammy Awards, but so humble. And that was Soweto Gospel Choir. My team, very eager to learn and very eager to work, that is The Vine. But it is the fusion with Soweto Gospel Choir, which was so seamless.
Right.
Because they came in, we said these are the songs, we worked on the songs with them, shared the songs with them, had a few trips down there to work on the songs with Nigel. And then when we just met, it was as if it was a match
together for
made
years.
in heaven. It just worked because they're humble. I think I've worked with artists who are very good, but also humble. But their humility is different because theirs is, I mean, you do what you're doing, I'll do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But Soweto Gospel Choir, I mean, we're not used to dancing in our church. They even would say, no, come on.
Let's do this.
Listen up. Let's
and
do
they've got you properly involved and comfortable.
Sort of,
and I love it.
and it was beautiful.
And you're not stopping, because now you have a new track out, and you went from Grammy Award winners to 5-time Grammy Award winners. You're like, let's keep upping this ante. And you then got together with Lady Smith Black Mambazo.
Yes.
Wow.
Lady Smith Black Mambazo. Growing up again, we used to sing the song No Magunje, No Magunje Sizopomele, like a church. In my head, I heard the Imbube sound.
Right.
Their sound, and I was like, no, man.
I need
I
this
need
connection.
those guys. And the connections I already have down south, because I also have been doing quite a lot of work down there in the music side. I asked people how I could reach them. And then it was very easy because they work with people that I also work with.
Right.
Yeah, so we had a chat. I was like, guys, listen to
need to get
this.
this
And
done.
the moment they heard it, they're like, we are in. This
Right.
is the song.
Right.
And since then, it's just been amazing. So
Tell us a little bit about the track. Is it out? Where do we find it?
Nomagunje is already out. It was released as my first song for the year on the 1st of January 2023. So it's already out. You find it on YouTube, Everton Mlalazi Music, which is my YouTube channel. But you'll also find it on all digital platforms, that is Spotify, iTunes, Deezer Music, all of that. So you find it there as well.